Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. On the show today, Lucy Forsting, host of Synergy Connection Radio, is back for a visit to teach us about self-love and self-care. Self-care, or self-love, is something that most of us do not spend enough time doing. On the show today, we share some great resources, techniques, and nutrition that can help you create your own self-care routine. We also talk about the amazing benefits for your physical and mental health that just a little bit of self-love can bring. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Forever Young Radio. I'm Bob. I am here today with Lucy Forsting. Is this the third time, Lucy,
I believe it
you've
is.
joined us?
Third time.
And Rollie is here with us today also. And today we're going to be talking about the topic of self-love and self-care. So welcome, Lucy. Welcome, Rollie. How are both of you doing today?
Good. How's everybody doing?
Oh, great.
Good. Good to have you back.
All right. So, we had a segment on exercise a while ago with Dave Spinelli, and he was telling us about this book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And the author was Kamal Ravikant, and Kamal wrote this book because of the troubles he was having in his own life. And he literally meant it like your life depends on it, because he was very depressed. And so he wrote this book and told the world what he did about it, how he came to love himself. And it created quite a stir and kind of gave energy to the whole concept of self-love recently. And so there's been lots of talk about it, podcasts, book reviews, all that type of thing. And so that's why today we're going to talk just a little bit about his book, but then also the whole concept of self-care.
Well, it's incredibly important to do that. And a lot of the people that I work with as a therapist, that's exactly where we are, because for the last 2+ years, everybody has been stressed to the max, and they don't know how to get back to that place that's peaceful, that isn't filled with anxiety and dread. Yeah.
And so when we look at Kamal's book, and he has a blog you can go and read too, where he gives updates, called kamal.blog.
Okay.
And it's very, very creative. And what he was saying is he started repeating the phrase, I love myself, to himself. And he just had this deep sense of how important it was. And so he would sit sometimes for hours and repeat that to himself.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
And it created this loop in his brain that became this cognitive commitment later on.
Right. That kind of relates to a show you did with us before, which is finding a new perspective and kind of creating your own reality with your thoughts.
Yes.
Right? Because your thoughts are the things that drive you to where your goals are going to go. And if you have bad thoughts, or you have something that's not anything that's not positive towards yourself, it's going to have a negative effect,
No, that's very, very true. Yeah. In fact, I was just at Marjorie Rawlings State Park last Saturday signing my book.
Nice.
And it was so funny, because I'll just share this with you. I was on this porch, and there were 2 other authors and myself. And so each of us had a chance to read a little excerpt from our book.
Right.
And as I sat down, the book is about animals that talk, right?
Right.
So I had told a little bit about myself, and was just getting ready to talk about a part of the story. And in come this flock of chickens. They are free-range chickens, and they started walking right in front of me, and one hopped up beside me, and I went, I couldn't have planned this any better.
Wow. So
that's great.
It was so funny.
And the book you're talking about is
The Adventures of Miss Twiggs and Company.
Absolutely.
And it does. It explains the importance of if we don't monitor our thoughts, if we're moving down that road of anxiety and dread, that's what we get.
Right.
And we absolutely do. So chickens don't know that, but
Yes. And read that book, Miss Twiggs and Company, The Adventures of Miss
Twiggs and Company. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Kamal was talking about also, if you get to the point where you love yourself, then the universe will give you love. So you will attract love from the outside to yourself.
Right. It's like the doors and the windows open up instead of stay closed.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, like we were talking about that on the Power of Visualization and Law of Attraction show we just did about 2 or 3 shows ago. You got to put that vibe out to get it back.
You do. You do. Whatever you put out is what you're going to be bringing back in.
Exactly.
I think also that if people are having a hard time loving themselves, right, it sets up an opposite belief that somehow they are not okay.
That's true.
Right. And so we also know from the studies from the HeartMath Institute on inner balance that concept of things are not okay, including I am not okay, is what sets up this loop that creates stress
Right.
that then throws off your hormones.
Right.
And so part of getting out of that loop of things are not okay into things are okay is first, I'm okay. Not only am I okay, but I'm okay enough that I can love myself.
Here is something that I'm going to bring out because you and I are both golfers. So how many times have you stood on the tee and swung and it wasn't the best shot you've ever hit? And the mental message that we give ourselves at that moment is, oh my goodness, it's going to be one of those days. I used to win more golf tournaments that I was in because my opponent did that. They literally made that statement and I thought, the game's won. I've already got it. And it was always true. So, the I'm okay, I deserve to win, whether it's golf or tennis or a swim match.
Or life.
Or life. Yeah, that is where it comes from. So it has to be there so that we understand the principle of what we are giving out, we are receiving in return.
And Lucy, we were talking earlier with Rollie about how to demonstrate self-love with like real life things, like stuff that you would consider self-care that you can do. And if you do it with the intention and the focus that says, I'm doing this for myself because I love myself,
Right.
then the self-care task takes on a different power, right? And so can you tell us some of those things that, from your perspective, self-care things that people can do that also demonstrate that they love themselves?
They love themselves. Well, certainly with Boomer products, I mean, I think starting with nutrition in general, because we know that our food that's grown today, is deplete by the time it gets to the store. So looking at using nutritional supplements, I have used your products for 5 years, and I attribute my not getting COVID at all, to that. My immune system's strong, my inflammation level is low. You talk about that all the time, and that's part of it. So nutrition, stress reduction. If you are stressed, get out in nature, get a pet. Pets love us unconditionally. So, we can hold a cat in our lap or a dog, depending on the size. But, we can do things that will allow us to de-stress. Getting sufficient sleep is incredibly important. And, of course, you have the Good Night formula. And people that, are having trouble with sleep because they've got monkey brains going on and they lay and the lights, are out, but they've got 21 things that they're trying to figure out how to do or how not to do, depending on the situation. So learning to say no to people. There's not one of us probably that doesn't want to be a pleaser. That's just our nature, is that we want to help others. And you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. I wouldn't be a therapist. Right. I wouldn't have written a book if I didn't want to help people. And so we have a tendency, I think, as a result, to say yes far more often to everyone else than to ourselves, and we go to the bottom of the list. And then we are, can become resentful and angry because we're not taking care of ourselves.
That's true.
So those are all.
So, Lucy, I spent a few years studying bioenergetic therapy. And one of the things that was part of the instruction was how to say no. And the instructor, John, made it really easy, and he would demonstrate. and he would go, if someone is saying, hey, come on, we're going out tonight, everybody's going out, meet us at the bar at 10 o'clock, right? But you know that you're not really feeling that well. You've got an important task you're going to do with your daughter in the morning. You have to take her somewhere. And you want to say no, but you also end up saying yes instead because you're a pleaser. He said, just simply shake your head first, whether you are in the presence of the person or on the phone. He goes, just shake your head and very politely go, no, I don't think so. No, that doesn't feel right to me because I need to do this or that. He goes, now you're going to get pushback. Oh, come on, you big baby. Come on, everybody's going out. Don't be like that. Come on.
Have fun.
And he goes, just simply repeat it. No, I really appreciate you inviting me, but no, that doesn't feel right to me because I really have to do this. But doesn't mean I don't love you guys, but thank you anyway. No, and I got to go now. See you later. Boom.
Boom, now I know how to do it.
Right.
That's my problem. I can't say,
Yeah.
I cannot
And
say
so
no.
shake your head side to side and be very polite. No, that doesn't feel right to me. So I don't think I'm going to do that.
Right.
Right? And listen, people make suggestions all the time, right? Let's do this, let's do that. Can you do that for me?
Exactly.
Right? And they're not expecting you to say yes every time unless you're a yes person and you've given them evidence that you always say yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But maybe it's not the right thing to do. So there you go. There's your no.
That's a simple technique because sometimes it's very difficult, like Rollie said, to be able to say no because you like the person, you want to help them. And so you just go ahead and say yes.
The idea of the shaking of
Shaking
your
the
head,
head,
no,
yeah.
you get your you get your body physically into it,
Right.
and that way your mind will follow.
Yeah.
You know?
You can also do tapping on that
Right.
on that issue and also the issue of self-love. So if you tap on your fingertips and you say about this no thing, you say, even though up until now I thought it was really hard to say no, I completely love and accept myself anyway. And I'm so grateful now that I realize I can simply shake my head side to side and politely say, no, that doesn't feel right to me. And be completely peaceful about the whole thing, right? And cross your hands on your heart, breathe in, let it out. And you're associating peacefulness with that gesture with the new you that's able to say no.
Right.
Now, similarly, on the whole topic of self-love, and if you are looking in the mirror saying, I love myself, but there's this shroud of doubt as to whether or not you're really lovable.
Right.
Okay. Tap on that. Right. Even though up until now, I thought it was difficult to believe that I was lovable, I completely love and accept myself anyway. And I'm so grateful now that I realize I am lovable because the whole kingdom of heaven is within me. I have that kingdom inside of me, and that's the self that I love, and I'm feeling at complete peace, right? Wow. Right? And so now you've used the power of your meridian system, which goes right up into your brain, to discharge the belief that you're not lovable,
Right.
or you can't say no,
Or you don't deserve something.
and instead, boom, you replaced it with a new belief, and you've anchored it to peacefulness, right? Which is one of the benefits, right?
Right.
Lucy, of the self-love. Can you tell us about some of the benefits of practicing these different aspects you were talking about, like, learning to say no, getting enough sleep, all those things? What are some of the benefits?
Well, certainly, just as an interjection here, I have a 21-day video that I send to my therapy clients that is all about the attitude of gratitude. And they start that in the morning, usually 10, 15 minutes, before they get out of bed. They set their alarm so they can do that. So when you start your day with these feelings of peacefulness and gratitude, then certainly you're going to enter the day with a lot more energy.
Right.
There's going to be less anticipation of what's going to go wrong today, because a lot of people, that's where they are.
Yeah.
Is they lay their feet on the floor and they've got this list and they're wondering, how much can I accomplish, what's going to go wrong, who's going to say what. So the gratitude, the peacefulness takes you into your day where you have more energy. Your relationships are going to be better because you're not going with that projection of problems. You're going with a projection of, I love life, I love me, I love, my situation.
I'm okay.
I'm okay. So all of that, certainly allows for you to accomplish more in the day and then feel good at the end of the day.
Right. I'm sure also, too, I mean, when you think about the actual physical thing that it could do for you, it probably helps with, like, if you're getting burnt out or you have issues with, like, kind of getting overwhelmed or anxiety and stuff, that's obviously going to be a benefit.
How many people, really in the last 2+ years have had adrenal fatigue?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're dragging themselves
Right.
out of bed.
Right.
They're dragging themselves from place to place. So by putting some of these systems into place, then there's a golden opportunity for them to be more successful in every aspect of their life.
Awesome. That's cool, man. That's cool.
Even some physical aspects, like reduction in blood pressure.
Absolutely.
And if people are able to get better sleep, we know that there's research that shows that you can lose weight while you're sleeping because your metabolism changes if you've had enough rest.
Right.
And so, but then all the other things that are related to stress and inflammation are also going to improve. Because if you can stop that voice in your head that says things are not okay, and instead go about your day with your primary belief being that things are okay, including me,
Right.
and take it a step further, I actually love my life and I love myself, right? Now you've stopped that loop in your head that leads to the hormonal secretions that cause the inflammation.
Right.
So elevated cortisol starts with that thought that things are not okay.
Exactly.
And if you can break that, then you can change your hormonal levels so you're not creating inflammation in your body, which leads to heart disease, strokes, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, etc.
Right.
Yeah, everything. It's like the root of all chronic disease, inflammation.
Right. And inflammation does start with, I think, with stress. I mean, if we have perpetual stress, things are going to begin to unravel.
No matter what the source.
Regardless.
Right.
And so it's really taking a personal checkup from the neck up. What's going on upstairs is what's going to be happening in your life.
That's good stuff.
So Lucy, do you have your own website? Or is it the podcast website?
The podcast website is out there.
And what's the name of it?
Yeah.
The podcast itself? Synergy Connection.
Okay, and so is that the URL, synergyconnection.com?
You can find it that way, or you can find it by going to, if they look up www.synergyconnectionradio.com, they'll also be linked in that way.
Synergyconnectionradio.com.
Right.
And that's your show.
That is the show.
Yes, she is the host.
Right.
Great. And do you have a different website like lucyforsting.com or Lucy the Great or anything like that?
If people, it's amazing to me, but if people just type in my name, Lucy Forsting, Forsting,
Yep.
I come up in so many links anymore. It's just absolutely crazy.
Because
so they
of all
can
the podcasts you've done?
Yeah, podcast with other guests and the book and the show and the counseling. So it's all out there. And so they can get hold of me.
And there's like a web form they can fill out to reach you. So if somebody wanted personal attention from you, counseling and advice and more information, they could connect with you and actually reach you and have you as their personal coach.
Exactly. And they can even go to Facebook and leave me a message that way on Messenger.
Okay.
So that's another avenue to reach out. I am finding with LinkedIn, I'm on there. I'm on Alignable.
Okay.
So there's a number of ways that they can actually reach
Awesome.
out and find me.
Good.
Awesome. So, Lucy, there's more also to all this aspect of self-care, but it's too much for today. So what
Absolutely.
we're going to do is, because Live Forever Young Radio has a website that when you click on a particular podcast like this one, the Self-Love, Self-Care podcast, they'll be able to listen to what we talked about, but then there'll also be a blog post, and we're allowed to add stuff into the blog post, of course, that's
Okay.
not actually
Sure,
spoken.
sure.
So we're going to add some of the other things that we had discussed earlier that didn't make it into the spoken part.
Right.
And I'll be working together with Rollie to get that stuff added in.
Absolutely.
And we'll put a link to your podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Synergy
And
Connection Radio.
a link to your Facebook page. We'll put that in the bottom.
That
also.
would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, listen, Lucy, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a pleasure once again to have you with us. Rollie,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Awesome. Thank
And
you, Lucy.
thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to Live Forever Young Radio, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.